pigeon. I heard it.
Okay, Mayor, we're good.
All right, I will call the work session budget workshop for August 3rd, 2021 to order. The time is 6:30. Craig, we don't have the little disclaimer on here.
No longer required, Mayor.
Okay,
Yep. We're good.
Yay.
all right,
Yeah, we don't, I checked, we're good.
okay. So citizens' comments, we're gonna drop that down to the bottom,
We can, if you'd like.
just in case, so.
Yeah.
All right, discussion item one, a resolution consideration 2021 Atmos Mid-Tex RRM Settlement Resolution, item 21142.
So if you recall, a few months back, we passed a resolution, council passed a resolution pretty much declining Atmos Energy's attempt at their RRM filing. That was at the recommendation of Lloyd Gosling, the utilities law firm. Since then, Atmos Energy and the steering committee for utilities with Lloyd Gosling have reached a settlement agreement for the rate review mechanism. And that's what this is. So Lloyd Gosling is making the recommendation that we pass the attached resolution, and I'll bring that forth on next week's agenda for your consideration to adopt. It would be my recommendation to pass that resolution because that is the recommendation that comes from the attorney. In conjunction but separate with this, we need to be preparing, and I sent out a separate email to everybody regarding another filing that they are doing to collect fees associated with Winter Storm Uri. This is going to be very similar to the electric utility fees that were incurred, the roughly $60,000 that we opted to pay out over the next 20 to 30 years. That'll indicate on our bill as a surcharge. Essentially, we're going through the same process on the gas utility at this point. What I do want to try to get from council tonight is just a consensus from council on whether or not we would like Lloyd Gosling to represent the city in opposing the filing from Atmos Energy. If that is the case, any fees associated with that would be recovered from Atmos Energy, according to Lloyd Gosling, so it wouldn't be at any cost to us. I just need to know whether or not to advise Lloyd Gosling law firm that they can represent the city of Everman in opposing. So if we can get a consensus on the opposition, and then I'll address I'll try to address any questions I can regarding the rate review mechanism.
Well, look, Linda, you okay with it? Johnny?
Yeah. Let's
Susan?
oppose it. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm in agreement.
There will be a
Please
representative from
oppose.
Atmos Energy here next week at our meeting related to the resolution part. So if you have any direct questions regarding the RRM filing and the settlement, that representative will be able to answer those questions.
Well, no, the increases, it was pennies. I mean, it wasn't
Yes,
like 20 something cents or
yes, it wasn't much with the settlement agreement.
so.
Yeah, I'm trying to pay as much attention to all the different utilities and the increase. Overall, I think it's supposed to generate a $4 billion increase in revenue for them. So
4 or 6.
4 to 6, yeah, 4 to 6. You called it.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on item 21142?
No.
Okay, so let's drop to consideration of street name within the new Hannah Ranch HOA development, item 21147.
So the developer on the new Hannah Ranch property has begun to submit those plans for review. They're currently in the back and forth phase between the city engineer and adopting those plans for the 202 home development that's going in off of Royce C. Brooks. Within that, we've asked before, and it's been discussed before about potentially naming one of those streets. And the developer has agreed to allow the city to rename one of those streets. And when it's been discussed before, we had discussed naming one of those streets after Officer Rango. It's up to council on which choice you would choose to go that way, but they have opened up the floor to being able to name one of the streets. Would just like to receive guidance from council on that, so I can put it on next week's agenda and vote on.
Okay, what kind of guidance are you looking for?
Whether or not you have a specific name that you would like to put over there.
I've got to be honest. I'm sorry. I'm still chewing on silver. I've got to be honest. This is the first time I've seen this.
Mhm.
And naming a street is a pretty big thing just because we don't get to do it very often. And
But we don't get many new streets.
true. Roy C. Brooks was the last new one, probably the only new one I know of since I've been on council. Okay, so I cut myself off there. Are you looking for us to approve a Rango, or are you looking for
A name.
just a name?
Yeah, you got a name? You got an idea for one?
No, just now hearing this. Do we have to have a name tonight?
I don't want to say yes, because they might be able to postpone it just a little bit on the final plot, but they are looking to submit the final plot documents here within the next few weeks. And on the final plot documents, they do have to have those streets named.
Okay, so can we do this next week? I mean, give us a little time to.
Yes, yes, I'm not asking council to vote on this tonight. I'm just looking for guidance on proposed names. We can certainly bring it back to the table next week and discuss it again and vote on a name next
It'd be
week.
nice to have somebody here in Everman.
Is
You know,
it just one street
here.
that they
Yes.
are leaving?
Yeah,
alone?
but it's
Yeah,
just,
it's just
one street.
I know.
They've already got
But
the
I
rest
know
of them
one
named.
name, you know, some names.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to name it after somebody who lives here, like a prominent citizen.
Right. I don't know.
So we got a week to come up with names.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so should we submit our suggestions to you, Chief? So you'll have them, or do we just pop into the
Yes.
meeting with a name, or what?
I think both will work. If you want to submit them to me by email, I'll certainly put them on the council communication attached with the agenda. And then if there's any other additional names that come up during the meeting, we can consider all those. And
Okay,
we'll just run through a
We should do
process very
Stevens
similar to how we did with the naming of the newsletter. And we'll narrow it down to a couple and vote.
I love it. Okay,
We got a
cool.
lot of streets named Stevenson
I know.
around us too, so.
I know.
Well, Stevenson, isn't the splash pad named after him?
Yes.
Yeah, so. who else?
Yeah, she
I
wasn't
think about this
here.
one.
She wasn't here last week about the, do you know about the splash pad?
Oh, no.
I don't want to get off topic. We'll bring that up when we get to budget.
All I know about the splash pad is it's broke,
Yes.
which is incorrect grammar, but I use it for emphasis.
We'll get to that.
Just everybody think about it. If you got a
Yeah.
name that you'd like to consider, then get it to Craig and then we'll go through the list next week and we'll narrow it down to one.
Excellent.
So, everybody good with that?
Yes.
All right. Then we just want to bypass 3 altogether, or you want to do
We'll come
what?
back to it. He will be here. It's just
Okay.
depends.
But I
on
know
what
we
time.
had some other stuff. Is he involved with all the benefit stuff?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, so we'll drop down to number 4, past performance and continued service with Waste Connections Lone Star, item 21146.
So as you are well aware, we have had significant issues with trash. I've had several of you communicate those complaints to me, in addition to several citizens that have communicated those complaints to me. Each time we try to correspond with Waste Connections to find a solution to that. But we're now identifying this as being somewhat of an ongoing perpetual
Mhm.
issue. So what I wanted to find out tonight was to receive guidance from council on how you would like me to proceed. I have pulled a copy of the original contract that was signed with Waste Connections in 2005.
It's expired.
I'm sorry,
When does it expire?
give me just one second. We just renewed it not that long ago. For
Renewed
5
last
Yeah, for
year.
5
more
years.
Yeah. Is this the norm?
Yeah.
Yes. If you give me a minute, I'll pull that up. But what I wanted to find out is we do have a couple of different options here. There is a clause within the contract that relates to the non-collection and their failure to perform collection. And it actually imposes fees against the service provider, being Waste Connections. And there is a fee set that essentially we would just not pay them for each incident. There's 3 different categories. The first category says failure to clean up material amounts of spilled refuse, which is $35 per incident. Failure to neglect to collect refuse from any premise at those times as provided in the agreement or within 24 hours of the delivery notice of such failure of the service provider, that's $50 per incident. Or failure or neglect to correct chronic problem in any category above. Chronic meaning 3 or more similar incidents at the same premise within a 3-month period. And each instance there is $150. The other alternative, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend here because I think we need to try to give them an opportunity to lawfully correct this. The other option is I can work with legal to draft them a notice that we intend to file a termination of their contract based off the breaches of their contract, at which time we would have to go out for an RFP, RFQ process to select a new trash provider. But I want to make sure that if we go to do that, we need to make sure that we're acting in good faith with the contract. We've given them every alternative within the contract. We have legal review that and take the appropriate steps to go there and understand that if we do terminate this contract, there will be an adverse effect on the citizens in the interim that we'll have to try to handle. The other alternative is I can just simply ask Waste Connections to come before you and answer for their violations before we start looking to impose any fees in accordance with the contract. I just would like to know how council would like me to handle it.
How many other chances do we need to give them? I mean, last Friday, they picked up the recycling late.
Right. I do not disagree with you.
According to the memos that you put in the report, they are having problems just like every other company is having problems as far as getting help.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it seems to be reading those memos that they are working on the problem. So if you leave one company, aren't you going to go to another company that's possibly having the same problem?
That is a potential, and that's exactly what the mayor
You
brought up.
just voiced what I voiced earlier.
But this has been happening since
the-
December.
Right. The problem that I have with it personally is that I understand there may be staffing issues, but we are not notified. There needs to be a note.
Yes.
We can't notify the citizens if we don't know that there's going to be a trash pickup issue. If there's a staffing shortage, then they know ahead of time that there's going to be a trash or recycling pickup issue. I can't notify citizens of the issue if we're not alerted to it. And it's by contract, they're required to notify us within 24 hours of a failure to pick up. If not, they violate the contract. And that's when we can impose penalties. And we're not notified typically until we get a complaint from, typically when we get a complaint from a citizen is the first time we're aware that there's even an issue. It was last month, the mayor called me on Friday night to let me know that trash hadn't been picked up. And then he started driving around the city and determined that trash hadn't been picked up anywhere. And we
My
weren't
whole
notified.
street.
We weren't notified at all.
The whole block, all the block areas, everything around my
Nothing
house.
Kelly, it was citywide.
Oh,
So I
But they
sent,
picked up Saturday.
yeah, I sent emails at 8 o'clock at night, didn't receive any sort of response until Monday that said, well, we picked it up on Saturday. Well, I get that, but now I've got upset citizens, many of which have pulled their trash back up to their home because they didn't want to leave it out on the curb for animals. And now they've got additional collected trash there. There's been significant issues with it.
But even then, they didn't pick up everybody on Saturday and they come back Monday and tried to pick them up the day before trash day.
Right.
So
I think if they don't pick them up Friday, they need to pay that expense for people to work Saturday and come in and pick it all up till it's picked up.
well,
No.
that, and I think we do need to start monitoring them and we need to start we need to start charging them this fee. We need to let them know that we are going to enforce this.
Yeah.
And when it's not picked up, we need to drive the city and get every violation. And
Maybe we need to get them
And
up there and
charge 'em.
tell them face to face.
That's what I was
Right.
going to say, Judy. We need to get them up here and talk to them, tell them our complaints, tell them our concerns, tell them what we intend to do financially. And
what
and
they
ask
wanna do.
them, let them tell us what their issues are.
Yeah.
No, we know it's personnel, but let's give them a chance to tell us about it.
Do you think they'll show up?
Oh, yeah, I think,
Okay.
I think more will show up.
yeah, I think they would. When we started having these issues previously, when I first took over as city manager, we scheduled a meeting with them and they did show up to the meeting. I expressed a lot of these issues to try to resolve it. Clearly, that was a year ago. We have not seen any resolution in this. And I've shared my correspondences with them, so you see that we are trying to communicate with them and get answers. It's difficult. It's been difficult. The contract renewal was signed on April 1st of 2020, and that contract renewal is good until March 31st of 2025. So it is a 5-year agreement.
Can you revise it for just a year?
I can ask legal, but I think we would have to terminate the contract and then renegotiate a new contract on a shorter term to do that. I can ask the attorney about the possibility. Whichever route we go, we need to consult the attorney on this because I'm going to ask him to draft a letter, essentially the warning letter from the city to the service provider, informing them of our intent to impose the fines if that's what council wishes to do. And then requesting, if you would like, for their appearance at a city council meeting so that they can answer directly to you.
Can you give them a time frame to correct their problem before you start doing the fees?
I can,
Well, I'm against that. I said, once they get the letter, we start finding them. If they don't come pick up,
Technically, we
they're in
should have already
violation of
been charging
contract.
those fines.
So-
there's procedures within the contract. If they have the inability to collect trash for whatever reason, it's in the contract, the steps that they need to follow. They have to alert the city. They have to provide written notice to the resident or the commercial business that gets their trash collected of the failure to pick up. And then they have 24 hours to pick it up after that. If they don't, that's when they violate contract.
Okay.
So we know issues arise and a truck breaks down or there's shortages on staff or somebody calls in. COVID played a big role. We understand that. I understand that. It's a pure lack of communication that's been the biggest issue.
Mhm.
If they can't pick up trash on Friday, we can notify all the residents that they're going to be here Saturday to pick it up, but we're not told that.
Right.
And then residents unfortunately call up to City Hall and are screaming at the girls up front and they have no control over it. It's a browbeating for staff.
Well, my thoughts are, I personally want to go that route. To start, and if they don't correct it, then let's breach a contract and we'll go find another company. But my concerns are, like I told you, we're gonna bring in another company and they're gonna have the same issues with having the manpower to pick up. So we could just be moving our problems from here to here and still have the same issues.
Correct.
Well, why can't we
So-
just get them up here and then say, starting on the 1st of the next month or whatever, we will start charging if things are not done like they're supposed to be.
I like that idea.
But the letter that's drafted will reflect that. It'll have a date.
Yeah, I think it needs to be in writing in addition to them coming
Right.
before council.
Right.
If council would like me to have them come before council, I'll make sure to communicate that and we'll get them before council. But I think it needs to be in writing from
Okay,
the
That's good.
attorney.
Now, we're not deciding anything tonight.
no,
No, I just wanted your guidance on exactly how you want me to
Do you-
start proceeding with this.
Do
There's
you want
no-
a consensus on this one?
Yeah, just a consensus on, and I just want to make sure I'm clear. I'm going to have the attorney draft a warning letter to them, informing them of our intent and imposing the fines listed within the contract and requesting their appearance before city council at the next city council meeting.
Mhm.
And we'll move forward from there. No other action taken at this point.
Okay, that sounds good.
That sounds.
Everybody good with that? Johnny?
Yes.
Hunky dory.
Okay, we're good with that.
Okay, I will do that.
All right, next item, City of Everman Public Information Policy, item 21150.
So what happens when you send me to class is I learn things. And I learned that not only are we required to have a public information policy, but we're also required by law to have our retention policy, our own retention policy separate from the state of Texas Library. And so we're working on the retention policy. Currently, we do not have a public information policy. This policy was recommended to us by Alan Bajorquez. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Bajorquez, okay. And has been changed to fit our municipality. So with that being said, this is just a draft model. I would like for you to consider that if there's no changes to this, I'll bring this back to council next week to vote and approve.
Yes.
Any questions, comments? I think we're good on that one.
I like this meeting. This is going great.
Okay, we will drop down to item 6, City of Everman credit card policy, item 21148.
So we don't really have we don't have a credit card policy. We do have a financial policy, but we don't have one that's specific to credit cards. This also came up last meeting when we started talking about city council members attending certain
But it also came up during audit.
trainings, and it also came up during audit. So this is one that was drafted for your consideration and review that we'll also be bringing to you next week for anticipated approval. Hey,
How are you?
good. How are you?
Any questions or comments on credit card policy?
I have one regarding distribution, I guess, of travel reimbursement. When I normally get reimbursed for travel, it doesn't outline what I'm getting reimbursed for. I mean, it should say maybe mileage or for the course or something. It doesn't say anything.
Okay, so you're not talking about this. You're talking about our process currently. Is that what you're asking? On our
She
process?
wants a breakout, is what she's saying.
Okay,
And there's sure.
So-
Jennifer has a form that she uses. to
well,
calculate that.
normally when she submit like this last, are you like this last time when she submitted it to me, I can get you that. What I do, and you're the first one I've had, but what I do is I print the Google map and run the mileage and then give it the calculation. I turn it into Jennifer to get you paid. We can get you a copy of those documents that support the expense that goes out to you if you'd like.
Well, it's not necessarily even the documents, it's what's being paid out. Because when I get, all I'll get is a check, but it doesn't say that the mileage was $50, the course was $10 or
Well,
anything like that.
but I don't know that on the checks themselves. So you're saying on the receipt, you want it broken out on the bottom of the
Wait,
check?
well, on anything, if you
Just
send me
that-
an
yeah,
email,
just-
just, you could tell me what I got paid for.
Yeah, she should get a copy of that.
Okay.
We'll fix that.
Okay,
Anything else
It
on
just
credit
needs to
card?
be a form that we attach with the check.
Anything else on credit card policy?
No.
Okay, let's go back up to number 3, the City of Everman Employee Benefits Proposal, item 21149.
So you walk in the door.
Come on up, Rodney.
We're gonna throw you right under the bus, right out of the
Have
chute.
you caught your breath yet?
My
Ready, Mike?
apologies for being late. I was at a neighboring city.
Before Rodney gets started, I wanted to, well, first let me figure out, I don't know, there we go, I got the camera straight. We started the research on benefits a little while back and was looking at some alternatives. We threw out everything that we wanted to do. We wanted to be able to find the best potential rates, provide the best to the employees, as well as increase the benefits that not only the employees receive, but the city receives while keeping the budget in mind altogether. We started branching out, looking at a couple different alternatives and thought we scored one that was going to be great and asked Rodney about it. And Rodney came back and pretty much shot him down and said, I could do all the same and save the city of Everman more money. But he's got a phenomenal proposal that I think he's going to present to you tonight for your consideration. And I'll let him go into the details there, but wanted to let council know that we have approached this from a very open mind and asking to not hold back on anything. Tell us what the best possible options are for employees here at our expense. So
Thank you.
Greg,
all yours.
Thank you. So we were challenged to enhance not just the benefits, but to be able to bring a payroll solution to the city of Everman that will accomplish all of the things that you need and still be able to reduce costs. And I think we've accomplished that. So you should have in front of you a packet of information that is a summary basically of what we've done. So what I did on this first page is really just take everything and boil it down. So you're not having to read through all the finite print and details, which I'm happy to go through with you.
Excuse me, could you tell me what you're reading?
Yes, ma'am. Says City of Everman proposal summary.
Is that in
It's on the
there?
screen.
No,
Okay.
it was in our packet, the agenda packet.
Can you take the slide
There
presentation?
we go.
There you go.
It's a little bit delayed. It'll be there.
That's our site. Good job.
What's the color?
Hi,
I'm
Brett.
not seeing very many numbers.
Yeah, just a second. Here it comes.
I've got it on my home computer.
There it is.
Wait
There
for
we
it,
go.
wait for it.
So what we were challenged with was bringing a solution to the city that kept our benefit plan as close to possible to what you have, as close as possible to what you have, and reduce costs. So what we're proposing, and this summarizes it, this first page, and we can get into the details, but we're looking at a 12.8% reduction, which is $68,000 roughly for plans that are similar to what you have. We're reducing the employee only rate to $798 from $969. The city's budgeted $1,000 per employee per month for benefits. But with that said, our claims over the last 12 months, Blue Cross Blue Shield's paid out almost $700,000 in claims in the last 12 months. We're recommending United Healthcare. So yes, Blue Cross paid out those claims, but many of those claims are over. They're not ongoing. And United has agreed to accept our risk. So you can see we had 5 large claimants totaling $560,000. So it's an 18.8% reduction if we go with United Healthcare option 2. We'll talk about that more in a minute. One of the plan options is an HMO, and then 3 of the options are PPO plans. So very similar setup to what you have right now. There's some additional discounting if we include the non-medical products, and then some additional discounting on top of that we were able to negotiate if we add the non-medical products. So at the bottom of the page where you see medical UHC rates do not reflect bundle discount, you see your current cost of $969.09, the new cost of $798, the budgeted amount, and then the new cost. Well, compared to budget, that generates a $200 per employee per month saving on healthcare compared to budget. Dental, same thing. We're keeping our benefits where they are, but we're reducing costs by $3.65 per employee per month. Life insurance, we're reducing that cost by $2.41 per employee per month. The short and long-term disability, no change in those costs, no change in our new benefits, no change in vision. The big one, payroll. So currently, the city manages its own payroll internally. And if I misstate anything, please correct me. So what Paylocity has done is they're going to come in, if you accept, they're going to do all of your payroll services, all your reporting, time and attendance, everything. Track your ACA reporting, give us a BIN admin system where your employees log in securely to make their enrollments each year for their health and their dental and so forth. The cost of that is $43 per employee per month. What does this also do? It helps the city with compliance. There are many, many things nowadays with the federal government and things that are imposed upon the city and all employers. This option helps the city stay compliant, takes that burden and that fiduciary role from the city and transfers it to a payroll company. And the name of that payroll company is Paylocity. It's a very well-known company. They're very good at what they do. We have them in at several of our clients, along with other payroll companies. But Paylocity, our relationship with them netted the city about a 30% savings on the cost of payroll services. Other payroll vendors that were looked at were double this cost. This company can do everything the city needs them and wants them to do, all within budget. In fact, even with the addition of Paylocity as your payroll source, your vendor that tracks your payroll, your time off, vacation, PTO, all of those things, we net savings with all of these plan provisions, health, dental, life, disability, adding a payroll company. We net save $164 per employee per month. It's a significant amount of money. So benefit wise, after reviewing with staff, I think they're pleased with the options that were presented. Your employees get to keep the ability to have choice. There's, for lack of a better characterization, you have a Cadillac plan and you have a stripped down plan. But it gives each one of your employees the ability to choose a plan that is best for them and their family. And make a plan that covers children, an affordable option. And Craig, if you could just scroll down just a bit. So you can see at the $1,000 budgeted amount, you can see what those options are. A person that's covering a spouse or children now pays $44 a paycheck. It would be $53. The net effect of all of this is everybody, it's rare that I can stand in front of a governing body and say everybody wins, but the city wins and your employee wins. And that's, I don't get to have that message very often. And so this is a great scenario for the city. And we do all that, and I stress, under budget. So kudos to staff for staying on top of this project and making sure that it's presenting a deliverable that accomplishes the goals. And I believe that this one does. Before I get deeper into this, into the benefits, we can spend some more time on the benefit piece, or would you like to discuss payroll more?
Can you also highlight fiscal year?
Yes, thank you. Our plan has been January 1 on our medical plan for, gosh, a long time.
Ever.
And from a budget perspective, that's always a bit of a challenge because you put your budget in October 1 and we deal with something come January 1st. That puts us back for all of our benefits to align with our fiscal year. So the city budgeted an amount that still has 3 more months on it because of the adjustments that were made last year. There's actually more those savings are actually a little bit understated because we're starting this sooner. We're not waiting until January. We're talking about doing it effective October 1st. So what would happen with that? We've saved money for the fiscal year. We've reduced costs that we thought we were going to spend for the remainder of this calendar year. We'll come out, we'll educate your employees on what the plans are, what the changes are. Any deductible amounts that they've satisfied with Blue Cross Blue Shield will transfer to United Healthcare. So your employees will not be double dipped on deductibles or out of pockets or those kinds of things. I will be honest, that is not a perfect process. It does take some time. It does take some bird dogging, but it gets done. So we will work through that process and support your employees and make sure that they get the credit that they're due.
Okay, one question or comment before we move on.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm looking at employee cost per pay period, and it looks like, if I'm reading this right, because I can't see the top, employee spouse is currently $44.50, but it's going to be $53.78. Same for children, and then family is going to go from $309 to $330. Is that correct?
That's on the HMO. That's correct.
Okay. Excuse me, y'all. So when you're talking to the employees and talking to them about the program, you'll be able to explain why it's going up.
We will cover that. I'm not sure that you can ever fully explain why something costs more, but
Well, I mean, the city we're making a big plus here for the city. And
True.
then the employees are going to be coming up with either $9 or $20 a month more.
well, and I will tell you, we talked about, and I don't want to speak out of turn,
No, you're okay.
but we did speak of scenarios to keep those employee costs flat. But one thing that staff did not want to do is be cavalier with the budget dollars of the city. Obviously, the council could always say, let's keep employee costs flat. But after reviewing with staff, they wanted to present it in the format that has been presented in year over year, so that everything was very straightforward and factual as possible. Did I?
Yes, and
No.
keeping it equitable among employees. So
Well,
you're not paying more for one person's insurance over another employee. We're keeping it.
Let me also speak to, as one of the consumers of the HMO plan currently, with my children on there, the United Healthcare options are worth the $9 extra a month over the Blue Cross Blue Shield HMO options.
Okay, and that's what I was saying. Are we going to be able to present this to the employees that we're taking $20 more a month paycheck, but these are the benefits, and that's why it's better.
And it's a very subjective, it's hard to get, it's a very subjective whether or not they're going to be able to understand. But I can tell you that the benefits much outweigh over what the current plan is. Currently, I can't take my kids to any Cook Children's. I'm having to see specialists in Irving and far out. United Healthcare is going to solve a lot of that for me. And
The network
most,
greatly increases.
most employees that select the HMO plan are selecting it because they're needing to cover a child or a spouse.
Mhm.
So having that greater network option that is local is a big plus.
But
So
they still have the option to go with a cheaper plan
Well, this is the
and
cheap.
cover that's the cheapest
This is
one?
the cheap, yes. It would cost the employee $53.78 per
Okay.
payroll. Now, also keep in mind, roughly 2 years ago, we were significantly higher on that with a plan for coverage for dependents. Last year was a big jump and a big leap for employees by getting that cost down to $44.50. So I think coming up $9 is not going to be anything that's detrimental to our staff.
So
No,
as was
but we don't
pointed
remember
out,
that.
oh,
We
I'm sorry.
don't remember that. Well, human brains don't remember that. Maybe 2 years ago, we had an okay plan. Last year it went up, and this year, or maybe last year it went down, this year it's going up. Whatever the scenarios are, we don't remember that. We just see, oh my gosh, it's going up $20. I just want the employees to understand, I personally prefer United Healthcare. We had it several years in a row, and then, things change and I had to change. But I've always loved United Healthcare myself. BC, whatever it is. Not so much. So I just want to make sure that our employees understand, yeah, it's going up, but the benefits far outweigh $9 or $20.
So to Craig's point, we go from a Texas only HMO where you only have benefits in Texas to United Healthcare's national HMO.
Yes, yes.
You pick up Cook's Children's Hospital. That's a big one.
You're not kidding.
For those that are covering families, whether that be a spouse or one or more children or a traditional type family, the family deductible is 1 time the single amount instead of 3 times the single amount. So depending on how you utilize your plan, the office copays are lower, pharmacy copays are a little better. So you could quickly make up $9 a paycheck at the pharmacy every month based on the
One
lower
prescription.
copay. Yeah, based on the lower copays. So
I'm just saying we need to make sure our employees understand that. And when they do, they won't mind those charges because like you were just saying, pharmacy alone will eat you up.
absolutely. So
Totally agree.
at our meetings each year, what we try to do is compare and contrast. This is what you have now, and these are the differences, the improvements. Or if it's worse, we like to tell them that too, because they need to know that. So
Absolutely.
so in this scenario, the reality is yes, it is $9 more per paycheck. But I think for most of your consumers, they're going to get that back at the point of service each month.
Like Chief says, communication.
The old PPO was $484 for me to have me and my kids, and now I can be still on my PPO for $198 and have my kids. That's huge.
Yeah.
That in itself. So I'm not gonna have the HMO for myself, but now I get to save it's over half the cost, and I can actually put kids on my plan and afford it. So that, because I don't look at the HMO, I look at the PPO, and that's what that's amazing.
Are you the representative for Wales Springs, or are you a representative for United Health?
I'm your broker. I represent the city. I'm with Wellspring.
Okay.
So we broker your benefits. To answer your question, we are not affiliated with any of the insurance companies. We work for the city.
You make us happy.
Very much.
Some years I need body armor, some years it's good. So,
These past 2 years have been good.
so
And he's been able to work some magic because
Yeah,
it
this
is
is a
important to
big difference
understand
for us.
when he highlighted the almost $700,000 in payouts in claims, that's hard to overcome when shopping for insurance. And that's been a big battle.
Well, and I've been asking for the October 1st through September 30th
Years,
deal for at least 6-7 years.
especially for our
So,
budgeting.
I've been
Yes.
wanting that
It
just
makes
for
life
budget. So
much better.
So I appreciate that.
well,
Yeah.
you can thank your staff for that. So I think we've, it's been a nice cycle on this. So we're going to get to keep your benefits arguably better within under budget, add services. And one of the things that we're adding that I did not put on that cover page is a new program that we're bringing into a lot of our cities, and we represent a lot of them. It's called Responder Health. This is a fantastic benefit that was developed by U.S. Marshal. It is an employee assistance program that is dedicated to first responders. We were able to get the setup fee, which was $2,000. We were able to get them to waive that. And since we talked last, we were able to get them to reduce that per employee per month cost from $4 to $3.50, $4 to $3.50, to be clear. So however many first responders you have times $3.50 a month, that's what the program costs. I think it's a huge, huge benefit to those folks. They see things that the rest of us don't see. This EAP plan is answered by people who have that experience. It's a peer-to-peer conversation when they need to call in. It's available to them and anyone in their family because their family's living it just like they are. So it's a great, great benefit for them. The city has an employee assistance program already, but this one is specifically for first responders, and it's called Responder Health. There's a lot of things that it offers. They have continuing education for the officers where they can get some continuing education credits that are built in. They'll come on site and do that. So it's a really fantastic program. It's new to us in presenting to our cities. We don't make a penny on it. For those of you who think this guy's just pushing something, no, we don't make any money on it, but we think it's a fantastic product and we think it's something that our city should offer. And I think your police officers and your fire department personnel will benefit from it. It has a suicide prevention unit that's a part of that. And I think those benefits should be utilized a lot. This is a very stressful time in our country, and I think those benefits need to be utilized both in our regular EAP and in this Responder Health EAP. So we'll set up a separate orientation for your responders for that benefit. So it's a fantastic program.
Do they have mental health evaluations?
Yes. Yes. Mental health right now, mental health or mental illness is the single largest by percentage increase in healthcare benefits being utilized during COVID than anything.
Yep.
mental health treatment is up some ridiculous number like 25% year over year compared to pre-COVID. So I think we all feel the pressures and different pressures. I say this a lot in meetings. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's really a sign of strength. When you know you need help, the city's providing resources to you at no charge. Take advantage of them. That's the message. So,
And I was just going to add to that, that no employee will be without, we have the other employees will have the regular EAP, and then the first responders will fall under this other category. So everyone is still covered. It's just, this is more geared towards them.
when someone in your department falls in, they're going to be talking to a peer, not just a regular counselor. And I know from experience in dealing with municipalities for a long time, they tend to communicate better peer to peer than they do
I agree.
to a non-peer. So I think it's a great program. So we can talk about dental if you want, but it's just Mutual of Omaha we're recommending over your current provider, which is Dental Select. Your vision plan, we're recommending that we renew that. And then your life and disability, we're recommending that we move that to Mutual of Omaha from One America and save a little bit of money. Life insurance is pretty much a commodity. You buy price. Whoever gives us the best price, we go. Okay. And then I have the Responder Health handout in your packet as well. The Paylocity program we talked about just a little bit, but you can kind of see this program. I mean, they'll help you with talent acquisition, human resources. If you have labor questions with staff, you can call and speak to someone. Workforce management, your Ben admin system. So your employees, when they do their open enrollment stuff, it will be there. The question was asked, and this is a good question. What if we have to run extra payrolls or we have to run checks? There are no additional charges for that. We were able to negotiate those things. So it's a great solution for about $32,000. And as I said to Craig, I think we're actually a little less than that, but I like to overshoot than under. So I think we'll actually see that price be a little bit lower than that. But right now it's at $32,000, or what did I say, $42 or $3 per employee per month. And that total includes all of your employees, including part-time. So this isn't just for your benefit eligible folks. On that note, for your part-time people, we have a benefit now called New Benefits, which is our telehealth service where your employees can call in and speak to a doctor, have those run-of-the-mill things, sinus infections, bladder infections, pink eye, sinus infections, all of those things treated over the phone. For those of you who've ever used those types of services, they're pretty convenient. That's a benefit, is a service. And the city is also considering adding that and making that benefit available to your part-timers. The cost of that benefit is $8.50 per person per month. And that total that I gave you down there, that includes making that benefit available to everyone, not just your full-time, but your part-time. New Benefits is not insurance, it's a service. And that's how we're able to do that and not offer all the other benefits. Okay. So it would,
to add on to that, I think that's a good thing to offer as we look to have, as we're looking to have more part-time employees within the city. That's just one more benefit that we're able to offer that competitors don't offer.
Do we currently offer benefits to part-time?
No.
No, nothing.
And they wouldn't have any of the other medical benefits. It's simply just the telemedicine services. But it's a
It's a
nice
good
option when
thing.
you have no insurance and you get.
That's a good thing. My husband has.
Absolutely.
healthcare, and
I've used
He's
it.
used it, so.
Yes.
yeah.
In the office, I think we've all used it. So.
it's a great thing. And the thing that I like about that program, and I've provided for years to my employees, is it's a household benefit. So that $8.50 covers everybody in the house. And so that's a nice feature. And there are not many things in life that you can offer to the whole family for $8.50 a month.
So it still keeps us under budget, under what
Yes.
is being recommended.
And I don't know, the vision, my husband's on United Healthcare too. Like I said, he has the vision too, which I'm under that on his only. And the dental, actually. And when I went last time to have my eyes checked and everything and for glasses and stuff, they were shocked. They said, you have really good insurance for this. I said, yay. So it didn't cost me a whole.
Yeah.
The city offers a really nice package to your employees.
Yeah.
Your employees would not leave the city of Everman because of benefits. We represent a lot of cities and a lot of cities in this area. And y'all have a really, really nice program that you make available to your staff. So you should feel proud and confident in knowing that. The payroll thing,
Mhm.
we could stand here and talk about payroll for 2 hours, but I'm sure you don't want to do that.
No.
So your employees can
That's their
download.
problem.
That's their problem. So it's a really nice thing, though. Your employees can download the app. They can see their pay stub online. They can enroll for their benefits on their app. It's a really, really robust program. I mean, this is 21st century plus technology that y'all are getting here. It does take a little bit of time to set up. October 1's off our fiscal year. We will be hard pressed to have this completed by October 1. It will probably linger to right around November, just because there's time to set up and build out and all those kinds of things. We're going to be asking staff for a lot of data. And once we get that, it'll all be transmitted securely with bank level encryption, and it will be sent for setup, and we'll get it rolling. There will be demos and tutorials and all of those kinds of things to bring staff up to speed on how to navigate that payroll.
It'll also be a good deterrent for any fraud, time fraud, those sorts
Good.
of things that would help deter it.
There are a lot of features and functionalities when it comes to hourly staff that can be implemented in time management, those types of things, tracking, all of those kinds of things can be accomplished with these kinds of systems. So in order to game the system, it would be really, really difficult.
I like it.
Now, when we vote on this, will we vote on each one of these individually, or are we gonna do it as an
So-
overall package?
What I'm going to ask council to do is just to give us a general consensus tonight, if you would like us to move forward with this plan, if everybody's happy with it. That will give Rodney the go ahead to start doing everything he needs to on his end, and we can start sharing the data. We'll actually officially approve this when we approve the budget.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
So
Really
I'm looking at page 1 where it says total annual premium, and it's got 538, 599, 84 cents on the left. On the
Yes.
right, it's 468, 611, and 64 cents. So with this package that Rodney is proposing, we'll be paying the 468, 611, correct?
Total premium, that is correct.
Okay, and that includes the Paylocity and the emergency guys health,
No,
correct?
No.
no,
Not
the
really.
468 number is your health plan alone.
Okay,
They're budgeted.
so
in
that
different-
number
they're
under
budgeted-
that,
Yeah, they're budgeted on separate line items. Health insurance, this is the health insurance line item. We have
Okay.
it broken out within the budget to pay for health insurance, dental, vision. It's all broken out.
okay, I'm looking for the big total.
Yeah, so what I'm telling you is that our budget total is
Mhm.
here compared to what the cost total is. So
I
that's
understand that.
the
She
comparison.
wants to know approximately how much it's gonna cost an employee for all the services added together, right? Is that correct?
I want to know what the budget's going to be for this package for this next fiscal year.
$917 per employee, you budgeted 1,000.
But she's talking about everything, the.
Yes,
Yes.
the
The
budget,
whole
we have
thing.
budgeted $1,000 per employee.
It's only gonna cost us $917.
So
That's everything. That's,
That's
Payroll
everything included in
included.
the $1,000.
oh, okay, okay.
Yes.
So it is all
What's
bundled
the
together.
number? What's
So-
the big total number?
I'll tell you that. So if you'll look at that very first thing where it says City of Everman Proposal Summary 2021,
wait a minute, what page are you up there? Okay,
The very first page of the
Okay.
information I provided.
I got you.
Do you see on the next to the last column to the right where it says new cost?
Mhm.
Yes,
You see at the bottom where it says $917.
yes.
$917 times how many employees?
44 is on the other page. I was just looking for it to already be multiplied out for me, so I didn't have to do basic math.
Sure. Okay. So, but I think there's actually more than 44. There's,
I think it's closer to 48.
so let's do 48 times 917 times 12 months.
Which equals, I'm looking for that equals. And how much did we spend on all of that last year?
I'll tell you that also in just a second.
Okay,
$528,192. That's everything. That's health, dental, life, disability, vision, new benefits, and payroll.
okay, tell me that number again, please.
528,192.
And that's assuming that the 48 employees is correct.
That's right.
I believe that's correct.
Right,
That's assuming 48. So let me give you your current cost.
thank you.
$604,800, and that does not include payroll.
Right, because that's in-house.
So approximately $80,000 difference.
Mhm. So we're able to keep your benefits and arguably make them better, add payroll, and net save $80,000. And those are city dollars. That doesn't even take into account what your employees, like this gentleman said, he's going to save to cover his children under the health plan.
Okay, thank you. Those are the two big numbers I was looking for.
I'm sorry, I didn't illustrate them. I'll make a note.
Please, next year, Mackie needs the.
Total.
Because we're working on budget and the total numbers get popped into some cell somewhere. It's like, what is that number?
Well, and if
Okay.
you don't enable the macros, you're in trouble.
Somebody else is going to be enabling macros. Sledgehammer. Okay, these are phenomenal numbers.
Well,
I like this. You did good.
can I have you come with me to a couple of my other cities
You
and tell them
bet.
that?
We like to save.
I'll be there.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Thank y'all very much. Y'all been a great
Thank
client
you.
for a long time, and we really do appreciate the privilege of getting to serve y'all.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank you for your
evening.
patience.
Thank you very much. Rob. Appreciate
Have a good night.
you. So Mayor, if we can just get a consensus on.
Okay, is everybody good moving forward on it? Linda,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Kelly, Love, Johnny? Susan?
Yes, let's move on.
Okay, you got a consensus.
We're good.
We're good.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
You too.
Okay, item 7, City of Everman Mental Health Leave Policy, item 21151.
So this one is legislatively mandated. The Texas legislature passed a new Senate bill that requires municipalities and government authorities to adopt a mental health leave policy specific for police. That's what the law is. The law says it has to provide a mental health leave for police, and it provides that guidance within it. My recommendation is police see the same things that fire sees. Typically, they're on the same incidents together. If we're going to afford this benefit to one group, I think we need to afford it to the other, is my personal opinion, my recommendation. So Jennifer has drafted a mental health leave policy that is attached here, that is tailored to meet the state law requirements and will afford this benefit to both police and fire personnel. Personnel will have to go through the qualifying steps. They'll have to submit necessary paperwork and things to qualify for the leave. But I think it is a tremendous benefit. And as Rodney pointed out, with a 25% increase in mental health usage, I think it's necessary for our first responders.
I know I brought up to you a couple of times about having a required mental health evaluation for them yearly.
Yes.
So for law enforcement, I'm legislative, I have to follow the law. And the law says that I can only send them for a mental evaluation once they're hired if there's a qualifying incident. So there has to be some sort of critical incident that I can force that upon them. Otherwise, I can't force them to do a mental health evaluation.
You can recommend it, right?
Yes. But I think we've taken tremendous strides in addressing mental health through Crisis Response Ministries, who we've had the agreement with, and our chaplain. That guy's, he was here today. He's here once a week, twice a week. Anytime any of our employees have any sort of issue, either personal or at work, they're reaching out to him. He and his group have been a tremendous resource for our folks. So I think that's been a big help and stride in that direction. We do require all new hire employees now, whether they are legally required to or not. All new hires have to go through a mental health evaluation before we hire. Or police, I'm sorry.
Anything else on that? All right, item 8, budget workshop, expenditures, revenues, and tax rates, item 21143.
I'm ready.
All right, well, we're gonna pick up on the expenditures where we left off, which was the administration budget for under general fund, which you will find on page 3.
See, we added page numbers, Mayor.
Yeah, I like that.
I noticed you added those.
Yes, I did. So everyone can follow along.
You were killing me yesterday trying to find what page I'm supposed to be on.
So I'll let you speak to this one, any of the changes.
So you'll notice the reduction in salaries first and foremost. That's primarily due to if we had overlapping salaries last budget between 2 city managers. So we're just budgeting for the one this year, but that may depend on what you decide. Some of the other changes, the highlighted changes are utilities. You'll notice those are significant jumps. That is because, as we talked about at the last budget meeting, we are compiling all utility payments to come out of the city manager budget rather than independent budgets. So those have all been consolidated here. Legal services is down slightly, and that's mainly just due to the trends that we've seen with cost. We do utilize our attorneys. I feel like I utilize them all the time, and we're just not seeing that much of a budget impact. So I feel like we can comfortably lower that budget. Professional services is up significantly for a few different reasons. One is IT. We're seeing increase in cost in IT, of course, as we move forward with the. Sorry, give me a second. Miriam's joining. So as we continue our trend of being able to add better features like forms online and so forth, we are seeing an increase in IT services. There's something else there. I'm trying to remember what it was. Engineering services, we have a lot of developments that have been happening and a lot of plans that are needing reviewed by the city. So we're seeing an increase in engineering fees and cost. Lexipol grant services. I do want to explain this one. I'm requesting $10,000 within the budget here. Lexipol is a program, they're a company that we will pay a fee to if council approves this budget. We would pay a certain fee to, and they would pursue available grant opportunities for us. The fees vary depending on how involved we want them to be. If we would like them to just review a grant application on behalf of the city and make recommendations before we submit it, that may cost $500 per grant. If there's a grant out there that we want them to do all the work on and submit it on behalf of the city, that could cost us $2,500 per grant. Historically, we have not pursued grants to the extent that I think we could. And therefore, I think we've lost out on a lot of funds, a lot of potential funds that are out there to help us get to where we want to go and achieve the goals that we have set. There are a ton of fire and police grants out there that we've missed out on over the last several years. And I think we will more than see a return on our investment for that $10,000. The Lexipol comes recommended by other public safety agencies that have utilized them. One of them told me that they budget about $20,000 a year and they get at least $100,000 a year in grants. So I think that'll be a tremendous service for us that we could definitely take advantage of. We do not have a staff member on hand that has the time, knowledge, or ability to dedicate solely towards applying for grants. And I think that's why we've just missed out on that in the past. I think we should rely on these kinds of services to be able to get those grants.
Well, one thing we need to keep in mind, once we get our flood study done, there's tons of money for flood mitigation.
Yes.
We need somebody to come in and get these grants done. Let's hurry up and get that money coming in and start making the necessary improvements that we need to do.
I agree.
So,
Realistically, there's grants in every department out there.
yeah,
Library is now ready to start getting grants again. And so we will definitely put this to use.
we've just done a poor job of going after them. So,
Building maintenance is up slightly. That's just due to the age of City Hall. We're continuing to see more and more issues as time goes on. We're having to address those issues. As you can see, this last year, we've spent $9,000 in building maintenance. And there's still some more to be spent to fix the front door. So we're seeing an increase in cost on maintaining this facility. Minor equipment is going to be at $500. The big chunk of minor equipment last year was for necessary items, some of which was, I believe, related to CARES Act. And then no capital expenditures this year. The last item is contingency reserve. This fund used to be higher, or this line item used to be higher. It was lowered. I'm recommending that we bring that back up. Eventually, in the years to come, I would like to see that line item be roughly $100,000. That contingency reserve is essentially our emergency fund that we can dip into without having to touch our reserve funds within the budget. So when we have things like electricals go out on wells or some sort of legal incident or something, we have it built into the budget to be able to utilize those funds to address that issue. So we're not having to scratch our head every year when we have a engine breakdown or a pump breakdown, how we're going to pay for that. Overall, I've tried to reduce this budget as much as possible. It is an increase primarily due to the utility costs being compiled in here. But I'll address any questions that you may have.
So utilities and for telephone and electric, that's every department except EDC?
No, that is every department. This is coming from the general fund. The administrative transfers that occur to the street fund, the crime control district fund, EDC fund include the use of those utilities. That's part of the administrative transfer. It doesn't show on the EDC budget anymore, utility costs for telephone or utility costs for electric. That's built into the administrative transfer to pay for it within the general fund.
I thought it was on there when we had the meeting the other week.
No, man, it's built into the administrative transfer breakdown. We transfer money from EDC fund, street fund, and crime control district to the general fund to help pay for those costs. But as far as it coming directly from that budget,
It might have been one of the ones that was left on there, but it's not on there now.
see crime control.
If you look, that's on page 29, and you'll see that that line item is zeroed out on the EDC. So basically, all of the line items on the individual budgets have all been zeroed out, and the actual bill will be paid out of general fund.
So we won't see, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So we won't see utility electric and utility telephone on any of the other departments.
That's correct.
Thank you. That has driven me crazy for decades.
Yes.
How about this may be a stupid question. How about water?
What about water? I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
Water is a utility, isn't it?
We don't pay for our own water.
We don't pay for our own water. Okay. I'm not sure I've ever seen water as a utility, but it's sticking out that it's missing. Okay, just looking.
Susan, we can add it, but it'll be zero across the board.
We can pay ourselves.
Okay, now that. I like that. Let's do that. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Just asking questions.
Flush the toilet as many times as you want.
So there were just a couple of little changes throughout the rest of the expenditures, but there was nothing added. It was just the corrections made,
That we
taking
talked
out the
about.
utilities and stuff like that. So you have the current corrected copy of everything. So on page 2 shows the summary for all of the general fund and the totals there. And page 1 is the summary for all of the expenditures by fund.
The one thing I do want to highlight is we did also remove the $20,000 line item towards the splash pad maintenance based off the consensus that was received the last council meeting. And we have not allocated any funds within this budget to address that issue, whether it's an alternative playground or a new splash pad, whatever that issue may be. I'm going to recommend that this next year we pursue some grant options and see what other funding options might be available for us. Because no matter the route we go, that will be an expensive venture for us.
So the splash pad is not funded within this budget for fiscal year 2022.
The splash pad is costing us roughly $20,000 a year just to keep running for the couple months that we have it running. There are some major issues with it that we're not able to identify. We believe there's broken lines underground. The filters cost roughly $400 a piece, and they have to change out those filters every 4 to 6 hours.
What?
It is that is because we believe the lines underground are not to code when it was originally installed, and there's dirt coming in those lines and clogging up those filters.
Okay.
It is costing us a significant amount of money to maintain it. So
In addition to the repair costs.
in addition to the repair, we spent EDC spent $60,000 just a couple of years ago to try to repair it, and that didn't work.
Okay, but the question is, we're not funding the splash pad at all for fiscal year 22.
That is
That's
correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's what I heard.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
understand all the issues. I've had at least 3 questions this week on the splash pad.
Yes.
Yeah.
It died.
I tried to make the city look as intelligent as possible with that stupid splash pad. I love the splash pad. It's just,
It's a wonderful attraction, but it alone is going to bankrupt the city if we don't do something different. We've got to do something different. We can't just keep spending $20,000 to keep it running for the
Well, and a
month out of
filter-
3 months it's supposed to be running.
no. Okay, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions on the expenditures? I know we kind of beat this one last time, so.
No.
So the total fiscal year 2022 proposed budget is $5,052,511.
For general fund. If you turn to page 1, you'll see the proposed budget is $8,070,847.
Page 1.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're not going through each department.
We did the expenditures last meeting.
Okay, now for EDC, when we had our meeting the other week, the city they're going to ask for more money for the parking lot. And so my question is, should that be added now versus doing an amendment or whatever?
I don't-
That was never, that statement wasn't made. I mean, it might have been brought up as
That
a
hasn't been
possible
brought to my
option,
So-
but
And I would not recommend at this time allocating due to the repayment loan or the repayment of the tax notes for this next year. I would not recommend any
They're taxed.
excess capital coming out of that fund right now. I think we need to get the tax notes paid down.
Well, no, I'm not asking for anything additional coming out. My concern is when we budget things, the things that we end up adding the next year are never in the budget. So
You mean the capital expenditures?
yes.
Yes, those are generally added as a budget amendment.
Right, but what I'm saying is, for instance, when we did the fire department as well as the annex, that was never budgeted.
Right. Well, we've already taken out the tax notes to cover the parking lot. So there should not be any additional capital expenditures out of EDC for this coming year.
You just said that on record there, girl.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's the plan. We'll this conversation to be continued.
See October.
No, but seriously, there's no money for capital expenditures out of this budget. So
Yeah,
yes.
the reserves in here are not bad, but we need to maintain what reserve balance we have within EDC.
So y'all forgive me, this is the first time I've looked at this.
That's okay.
It looks like between what we've budgeted, what we're proposing to budget for fiscal year 22,
Yes.
compared to the adopted 21 budget, we're saving about $500,000. Is that an accurate statement?
Saving or no, we're
No,
increasing.
not saving, I'm sorry. We're going
Increase.
about
We're
$500,000.
Yes,
Okay, I
correct.
thought I had a good thing going there, $500,000. But
I wish it was savings, but it's an increase.
okay, that's the big bottom line I was looking for. Okay.
Yes.
And keep in mind too, so the water and sewer fund, you're going to see that fund essentially balance out a little bit better because we're going to see an increase in revenue, anticipated revenue with that fund. And then on your street improvement tax, we are recommending for a capital project this next year, the rebuild of North Race Street from Enon to Bell Street. So you're going to see a $29,000 increase over last year on that item. So account that 229,000 of that increase is coming from different funds aside from general fund.
Okay, and just because you said race, a rebuild of race from Enon to the high school is in somebody's future plans, right?
Yes, I'm sorry. I recommended that last week, that we postpone redoing that rebuild because I would like to, over this next year, pursue grant opportunities that address the storm water drainage on that section of the roadway before we do the road.
Okay,
Because if we come in and do that road and spend $200,000 to rebuild that roadway and then have to address the storm drainage issue after the fact, we're going to have to dig up that road to fix the storm drainage.
no, it's the same thing as Enon. We pave it and it's beautiful, and then we gotta dig it up.
Yes.
Totally
So
get it.
before we get to South Race, I would like to at least give it 1 year to pursue grant opportunities on storm drainage because they are out there. We just need to pursue them and see if we can get some grant funds to help us address the storm drainage on that roadway, because that is a major complaint of all the residents that live off Race or near Race in that area, that the storm water runs.
Those of us who just use the street, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we're gonna let Lexipol take care of finding us some grants.
That's going to be one of the $2,500 ones. Yes, ma'am.
But in the meantime, we can get somebody out there and like fill the potholes because,
Yes, his crews have been, that's a whole nother issue.
okay,
The pothole truck has broken down twice every time they've gone to repair potholes. Last time it had to get towed and it's dead. We don't have a pothole truck. It's going to cost us several $1,000s to get it repaired. It's a 1991 truck. The truck is 30 years old. It's not worth fixing. We're going to likely move forward with recommending that we sell that as an asset, take the proceeds that we get from selling that as an asset and acquire a trailer that will take care of ProPatch. In the meantime, he has been able, our Director of Public Works has been able to address the potholes utilizing our dump truck and doing quick relays Essentially, he runs down, picks up the hot asphalt, gets it back to the city as quickly as he can to fill those potholes before it cools off. That's how he's doing it currently. But we cannot continue to neglect the potholes that have been all over the city.
Right. Yeah.
He has repaired dozens of potholes over the last week.
Okay, thank you. That gives me some ammunition when I get asked.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. So far, so good.
Okay, well then, with that, let's move on to revenues.
What page would that be?
Well, that's a separate packet.
Oh,
It'll say proposed tax rate and revenues fiscal year 2022.
got it.
Miriam, we'll have to get you your packets. They're sitting here at your spot.
Thank you. So sorry, and I apologize for being late on the meeting.
Well, that's partially my fault. I didn't get your message till late. I had my phone on silent. I'm sorry.
No, no problem. Thank you for letting me in.
Got anything you want to bring up?
Oh, yeah.
Revenues?
Oh, yes.
Okay, let's get going.
I was waiting for
wanna be here
everyone to
till
get
9
there.
o'clock.
Okay.
We'll give you 5 minutes.
Break. Okay, so the first page, page number 1 is the revenue summary by fund. Get a glance before we dig into it.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Revenue summary by fund, grand total, $8,070,847.
Yes, ma'am.
Which looks suspiciously like.
On the expenditures?
Well, okay, so keep in mind, our city charter requires that the city manager presents a balanced budget. So
Uh-huh.
this number on revenues by law has to match the number of expenditures.
Okay,
We'll get into where those revenues are going to go here in just a few minutes, but those numbers are supposed to match.
yes, that's probably the first time in my 22 years that it's ever
Mhm.
been
Well,
like
we-
that. But my statement was going to be, that doesn't give us any wiggle room, does it?
Well, we'll get there too.
We'll get there too. Very little.
Very
That's-
little. Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Wait,
Go
That's what you wanted to hear?
No, not exactly, but
wait till.
Very few is what I wanted to hear.
yes.
All right, let's do
Okay.
it.
I'll
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, okay. So
Right.
we'll move on to dig into it. Page 2 is general fund,
Right.
the summary.
Property tax went up.
Well,
We were going to talk about property taxes after, but as we'll get a little bit more into the property taxes here after we go through revenues. This is assuming that we do not change the current property tax rate. In
Okay,
other words, we keep the property tax rate we currently have for this next fiscal year, not an increase
okay,
in the tax rate.
Right.
There will be an increase in the taxes to the consumer based off the appraisal values
Right.
yes.
that are
Right.
seen, but we are not
there is a
proposing.
slight increase of $149,000
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
with the
The
property.
same as last year's
Yes.
our proposal. Okay.
Okay, so if you turn to page 3, then we can dig into general fund by account type.
Mhm.
You'll see quite a few categories with a decrease in revenue, unfortunately. Like, and part of that has to do with COVID and everything else pandemic related, but
Whoa, what happened to right-of-way franchise fees?
it's gone down. So far this year, which I'm expecting at least one more decent sized payment, but right now we're standing at $5,800 and we had budgeted $44,000. So a lot, you'll see, like I said, a lot of decreases.
Yeah, I see that.
Some increases, I really tried to tighten up the budget and get it a little bit more realistic. So, and more accurate.
Bingo's going up 10,000.
We've wanted to make sure that we did not over budget revenues so that we do not over budget expenditures.
Right, right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
Yes, you bet.
So some of these numbers are conservative, but that's a good thing.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of I noticed you brought up bingo tax. Remember that the law changed regarding bingo taxes. It's now, it doesn't go through the state anymore.
We're good. We're,
Yeah, bingo taxes, it's improved. It's been beneficial to the city.
yes,
It's changing law.
we are over the budgeted amount for last year, so we're good on that line item.
They were
Somebody-
ready to get the bingo hall when the lockdown came up.
Oh. Community center fees, whoa.
Okay, so you mentioned that. So we decided that 10,000 would be a good starting point. Now, of course, we'd love to think that we'll take in more in revenue with the new community center, but with it being, a partial year and not knowing exactly, working towards marketing and all that. So anyways, we put in $10,000 there.
And Susan, you also weren't here last time, but it was my recommendation that we take the revenue made from the community center fees and allocate those towards the repayment of the tax notes that EDC is paying for, to give them a little relief on their EDC fund.
Okay.
They're paying $78,000 this year, and that's going to go up and down slightly for the next 5 years. So that $10,000 to $20,000 would provide some relief to that fund if possible.
That's a good idea.
That would go for the first 5 years, and then after 5 years, that would be generated revenue towards general fund.
Okay. Ballpark field fees. Is that the football field?
And baseball
And
fields.
baseball.
Okay, so-
And that number is a little bit low right now, but we have contacted them for payment.
Okay, we have traditionally had trouble that I can remember from the football.
They've paid their deposit. We just haven't collected the fee yet. And I don't think it's their fault. I think it's just, with COVID and this being such a strange year, there just hasn't been much follow-up from either side. So I anticipate that won't be an issue. We should be able to collect that.
We followed
before
up
this
with
budget.
it earlier this week.
They're all part of the same organization now, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't foresee any issues there.
No, that's good. Okay, because in the past, they played for free, pretty much. Are they paying part of the electric bill?
No, that's the reason why they pay fees. Not only and we can discuss those fees at a different time if we would like to increase this. But really the agreement with the association should be mutually beneficial, in my opinion, but fair, because the city does do some work for the associations. We maintain the fields for simplicity's sake, more than anything else. We also pay for the electricity at those fields.
Yes.
So in addition to, now we have staff members that in the future, because of this new grant, will actually allocate personnel time towards the Youth Sports Association, since that grant that we're looking to receive will cover $10,000 of cost for participation in the programs. So we would need to address all those, but we can address that separately from budget as we address our fee schedule.
Well, my concern is I want it to be fair and equitable, but I would hate to raise fees to the point where somebody can't play football or baseball because parents the fee is just too much for the parents.
So last time I spoke with the association, this was the stance that I took. They currently do not charge very much in an attempt to try to keep participation high because of the qualified census tract and low median income.
Yes.
So they charge significantly less than what other organizations around us charge. Therefore, they're not making money to run their organization. which is part of the reason why when I applied for the grant through the House Appropriations Committee, I wanted to allocate $10,000 to pay those fees. Because I am of the opinion that the association needs to charge what they need in order to operate their program. And then this $10,000 would assist those families and kids that can't normally afford to play. And it would be a scholarship. So the association makes their funds, the grant funds these kids playing, and then they can afford to run a good operation within their association. And we make our money back to cover the expenses that it costs. I'm not looking to make any money from the association, but we need to be able to cover the expense it costs to maintain and run those fields.
So are you dividing the 10,000 between the two?
Between baseball and football?
Yes.
Oh,
So the way we haven't come up with yet, we're going to have to draft a policy that city council will have to approve. The policy will probably be something along the lines of the association takes applications, the association appoints a board that recommends those applications. So as applications come to us for final approval, and once we've gone through that approval process, then we would allocate those funds to whoever becomes recommended. I don't know if we want to split it evenly between the two because there may be a higher participation volume amongst baseball than football. I think we'll just have to kind of address it on a case-by-case basis. But I anticipate that $10,000 will last us a few years on fees for that association.
Good, good, good. I see the security alarm on the bottom. We're budgeting an additional $1,000. Is that because there's more alarms or are we going up on the fee?
Well, we didn't go up on the fee. ADT went up on the fee.
Okay.
Because you'll notice that we're already over budget for this year. We're at 4,600 right now, so.
And my hope is we can actually, we've started this and never followed through with it. We need to change our security vendor here at City Hall. So we'll probably look to do that within this next budget so we can lower those costs. Because there are cheaper alternatives out there.
We're on revenues, right?
I'm sorry?
We're on revenues.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we are in revenues.
At the bottom.
We are. I switched gears too.
I'm sorry.
That's why I said we're over budget. No, this
Yes, that is because our fees did increase. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I thought this was money. Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
how much did our fees go up?
Previously, we charged $10 per alarm permit. We adopted the average to like-sized cities, and I think it's $30 for
30, yeah.
$30 a year for residential and $50 for commercial.
Okay, we've been here too many hours.
But that was a fee schedule that was brought to council. That
Yeah,
we didn't just arbitrarily raise that.
Yeah, but I've slept since then. I was in the hospital. Y'all give me a break.
She slept through July.
I did.
That's
a
okay.
good
We
way-
were all agreeing with you, so it didn't matter.
Oh, okay. Good. I didn't see any nod heads.
With the court fines and fees, did that increase, or are they doing better at collecting?
No,
No.
they are doing
it's-
awful at collecting,
it's
and they're
terrible.
doing awful because the TCMEC, which don't ask me what it stands for, but that's the organization that regulates how the court operates, is not allowing judges to issue new warrants. So that is
it's
correct.
ridiculous.
So our judge is not looking to issue any new warrants. We're hoping that restriction gets lifted in September, at which time we'll have some teeth behind court fines and delinquent payments on citations and things. I would anticipate that we're going to have to play catch up on this one. We're going to come in well under budget this year. My hope is, and we're lowering the anticipated revenue. My hope is that we're going to, in this budget, do very, very well as we try to play catch up with all of the back fines and things that have not been paid. That's the hope. We're also looking to see a better system in place once the ticket writer system gets implemented. So that'll help that process and allow for a speedier process as well. But we can't count on that. We don't know what's going to happen this next year with COVID. We know what the governor's stance has been. We don't know what's going to happen as far as any lockdowns or anything, or what TCMEC is going to say. Everybody's up in the air on what's going to happen as far as
Right.
shutdowns and who's going to issue warrants. So it's just really, right now, we're anticipating hopefully September we can start collecting. We're just not sure yet.
Okay.
So I reduced that, but I didn't want to reduce it too much because I want them to start collecting.
Yes.
So
Okay, what is the second one under fines and warrants? Municipal court building restroom?
no, that's restricted.
Oh,
Those are those line,
What's underneath? Okay.
yes, line item 2 and 3 under fines and warrants are
Okay.
restricted funds.
Yeah, so essentially with every citation, when somebody pays a citation, certain percentages and amounts of each citation have to go to certain funds legally. And
Oh,
that's
okay.
that's one of the funds it goes to. That's how we build up the court security funds, the court technology fund, the municipal court fund. All those are restricted, which means we can only use those funds for specific purposes.
Okay.
They build up over the years, and when a need arises, then we'll use those funds to
Well,
pay.
you're
for
going to
them.
need about 100 years on that third one because they only got $9 this year.
Yes.
Well, fortunately, we don't have many jury trials, so I don't. Hopefully, we can keep building that for 100 years.
$9. That's only $90, right? Or whatever the math is. Okay.
One case and that can be in the red.
Yes.
Oh dear. Library. What is labor? Oh, never mind. I got that.
Yes, wait. Back up 1 second. I liked what you just said. You said library.
Yes, I did.
You see that?
Fines and fees. Yes.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That has not been on the budget for many years. So I'm happy to
Thank
put
you.
revenue on there. So
And we've already collected $60.
Hey, we're on a roll.
Isn't it? And that was-
no, 280
Oh, 280. Oh,
this year.
We're
Yes,
definitely
the
on
last 2 weeks it's been 60. Yes.
oh, yeah.
Yes.
What is ESD grant?
ESD stands for Emergency Services District.
Okay.
That is Tarrant County's Emergency Services District. They traditionally provide us $25,000 a year annually in grant funds that the fire department can use to purchase PPE equipment, things like that.
Thank you. Gain on sales of assets. 80,000 on gain of sale of assets. Excellent.
Yes, but take a look at the year-to-date amount on there.
Wait a minute. Let me look. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yes. 128,000 this last year, and we're hoping to increase that number again before the end of this budget.
Should have at least one more auction before.
Also give you some good news on Enterprise, and we're going to have to schedule Enterprise for a whole different conversation to go more in depth, but we are seeing a significant increase in the anticipated revenue from the trade-ins of the first group of leases. We traded in 3 of the 3/4 ton trucks, anticipated to get a $28,000 revenue from that to allocate towards the continuation of the next lease. We actually got almost $42,000 a truck on
Ooh.
the sales. So that's been beneficial and will help out too. But we're going to have to save Enterprise for a whole nother meeting because that's going to be an in-depth conversation. A good one. It'll be a good one.
Okay.
Was the property ever sold over there, where they have that, they were storing cars and stuff?
No, there was some company. I remember you.
Well, I thought it was an individual or something that wanted to buy that.
Yeah, there was
property.
some letter that we received of
Right.
interest, and Michael Gunderson and Michael Nicoletti responded to it. Never heard anything
Okay.
back. Never heard anything back.
Hey, this is one over here.
Yeah,
It's too small. I don't know what to do with it.
he was offered like 120,000 or something like that. The letter
Right.
said it was. They jumped all over it. They were like, "Yes, take it."
Please. Cool. Okay.
Are we done
And
with the
then-
general?
No, not quite. Page 5.
Right.
Is mostly fire. But if you'll bring your attention to the equity change, this is the sad number here. So based on the property taxes at the current rate and the revenue budget as proposed here, leaves us with only $32,958. of cushion. That's tight. Because if you look at how many line items from this year that didn't meet the revenue numbers, that's tight.
Okay, I don't understand.
Do you see the equity change to 32,958?
I see it. I
Okay.
don't understand what she said.
Based on this revenue calculation and the proposed expenditure budget, this is the difference we have as cushion.
That's the excess funds
That's the
Gotcha.
excess funds.
Okay.
in
This-
the core general fund.
So
Okay,
with the current tax rate and the budget as it's presented in front of you, we have to perform very well in expenditures and very well in revenues and not have any major incidents this year in order to satisfy this budget.
Because we only have a squeak under 33,000 to fix whatever might,
That is-
Not meet the numbers.
That is correct.
okay. That's not tight. That's almost invisible.
It's pretty
Mhm.
much,
Oh. Okay.
So you need to be aware of that
It's-
when we go into
it's-
the tax rate discussion.
honestly, it's impractical, but
So we need to tell the bingo people to get busy.
okay.
We need more money.
So we can further discuss that when we go into the property taxes.
Okay.
Moving on to the water sewer fund. It looks a little nicer. Okay, the page 6 is the overall summary by type for the fund. And then 7 breaks it down.
So on page 6, it looks like we'll have, I don't know if I'm saying this right, 190,000 extra money?
To apply to reserves if we perform well on that budget, yes.
Okay, good.
The water reserve fund, yes.
Yes, water. Okay.
Correct.
What are we spending money on? I mean, getting money from here.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we increased the water sales by 200,000.
And sewer by 40.
Sewer by 40.
Do we, it's like we've got 75,000 this fiscal year's and for penalty and reconnect fees, and we're dropping that down to 65. But do we actually make that much money on penalty and reconnect fees?
No, and that's, if you look in the very first column from
Yeah.
2020, we
Uh-huh.
collected 59,000. So, and look, based on what the number looks like for this year to date, we're right at the same 58,000 with a few months left to go. So I definitely felt like the 75,000 was inflated.
Okay,
And we
So-
would never be able to make that number.
so the 65, it does feel more comfortable.
Yes. And keep in mind, we're at nearly 58,000 right now. And that was with many months of not collecting any penalties for water department.
Right.
So it would have been even higher had we had that in place.
Yeah, fees were waived during COVID.
Fees were waived
Or yes.
for many months. So I don't foresee us having trouble meeting that 65,000.
Okay, cool. What is over short? I feel like somebody's picking on me for my height.
No.
That's when
I recognize that.
that's when
Some of that
that's when a
remark.
very, very rare incident occurs that the cash register may be
Yeah.
over or
Yeah.
under at the end of a shift.
It's not a budgeted item. There was
Gotcha.
just a balance in 2020.
Gotcha. I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
Try
Okay,
telling an accountant that.
cool.
You notice it has not happened this year?
Knock on wood,
It's for Micah.
Yeah.
not my head. I carry it with me up here. Cool.
Okay, so that's I took out the insurance proceeds from this. I took out $2,300 because the majority of the items sold at auction have been general fund. So the insurance proceeds have all gone to general fund.
Okay. Gotcha.
Moving on to debt service.
Revenue, property tax.
Primarily this in debt service is the portion of the property tax that goes towards the debt service payment.
Oh, thank you. That's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Okay, property tax. All right. So we're dropping it down. Okay. God bless you. Property tax.
As well as across the board, you'll see investment income also dropped
Whoa.
throughout all the funds, but that's
That's because the bottom
the
of the
interest,
market.
the
fell out.
interest rate is ridiculous. So it will continue to be that low for a while. So,
So we'll just roll with that.
yep. Special revenue funds.
What page are you on?
I turned the page to 10.
Okay,
And this is just the summary.
but what is other?
That is all of the restricted funds. So you'll have TCOL, you'll have the
Now look at the
EDC.
very top. See where
Yeah.
it says T-Cole fund?
So if you look at page
Ah.
11,
It still
so
says,
each fund will have the summary sheet on top and then broken out by account following.
okay.
Okay, and the TCOL fund is, oh, it's a wash. It's in with the money and out. It's for training expenses for the police department.
Gotcha. Okay,
So here, the next one we have is the EDC. And while this looks good, the bottom number of 283,000, that's actually not good. We're collecting the sales tax, and of course, the investment income has gone down. But you'll notice the equity change line is actually a decrease. Okay, so this means that we're dipping into reserves just to cover the expenses by $107,660. And this number has been over 100,000 for the last several years.
okay, now hold on. EDC is, I thought EDC was making money on the sales tax.
Yes,
They
ma'am.
do. That's what
They're-
that 175,750
they're
is.
making
That's the
100
anticipated revenue from sales tax.
Yes,
Okay, but why does it look like they're,
okay. So
What is-
yes, we are making 175,000, which I have left the same as last year. Hopefully we make more than that, but
are you on
But-
page 13?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. All right, I see that.
So you have the 175,000, that's the sales tax. Then the next line is the investment income of $750. Okay. I know, it's not much.
Funny,
Yes, and that may even be a stretch to get to that $750. So, but the line that is of concern is the $107,660.
This is a,
This is money we are taking from reserves to cover the expenses.
this is money we're taking from the city's reserves?
EDC.
From
reserve.
EDC reserves.
Okay, okay. Why are we doing that?
Well,
I mean, have we budgeted? No, not budgeted.
That 283,410 is the proposed expenditure budget. The bottom number is the
Uh-huh.
proposed expenditure budget
For
For
EDC.
for
you
EDC.
have to balance
So
the
we have to
budget.
balance it somehow. 175,750 is the revenue. We have to pull from reserves to make up the difference, which is the 107,660.
Well, shouldn't we look at what we've budgeted and cut something?
Well, that's the starting point. But just so you are aware that that number has been, like I said, right at or just over 100,000 for the last several years.
So that's why we're considering taking money from the new and improved civic center or whatever we're going to call it.
To
And-
help them,
Okay, okay.
yes,
To
because
soften that blow.
because frankly, the account's hurting. And if we continue at this rate, there will be no money left in just a few years.
Okay, so that's definitely a concern. Okay. Wow. Circle it. Oh, page 13. Ha! Bad number.
I didn't,
Sorry.
yes.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Moving on, you could digest that, talk about that later. Okay, so the next fund is the TIF, the reinvestment zone number 1. 14, page 14 is the summary, and on page 15, you'll see that I'm increasing it slightly. We have done pretty well this year, and this is both a revenue and an expense to us, so we see it on both sides of the budget.
Yay.
What we take in from the county and the hospital district.
Yes.
But this is the revenue side here at 110,000
Okay.
and a whopping $250 in investment income.
I saw that, man. We're making bucks there.
Okay. Then moving on, page 16 is the street improvement tax fund. The summary, and on 17 is the breakout. Now, this is a portion of the sales tax that goes into the street improvement fund. So proposing 85,000 in revenue,
750.
750 in income. Now, this one, we're also showing, you want to touch on this one?
Yeah, so we're gonna have to dip into reserves, 165,750 out of this fund in order to complete the capital improvement project of North Race Street this next year.
Okay.
So that is an option. Council can elect to not do that road this next year. I recommend we do and move forward with it because it is in need of getting done.
And the funds are there. to
And the
cover it.
funds are there to cover it from the reserve fund.
Okay.
And that's what this fund, we let it accrue and then we do a larger project every couple of years.
Yeah, so when the city took out the 2013 bond fund, for the duration that we had that fund, we were utilizing the 2013 bond fund to pay for road improvements and maintenance while we allowed the street improvement tax to build. And so now the 2013 bond fund is expended. We don't have those funds anymore to be able to utilize. So now we have to rely upon our street improvement tax or other funding opportunities to be able to address our street issues.
So the street improvement is 0.25%, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And how much is the police one?
A quarter also,
It's quarter?
Yep.
And EDC,
50.
it's 0.5%?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
No questions on that one. Moving on. The next one, the restricted funds, is crime control district. This is also the sales tax revenue. We have proposed 83,000 this one. And a little bit of income, investment income there.
And then 40,400 from reserves?
Correct.
Yes, the crime control district fund, the city has allocated solely towards the vehicles.
Mhm.
So that pays for the capital items that go into vehicles. So the lease payments we take care of with the regular revenue, but the capital typically we dip into reserves to pay for that capital. Or we need to dip into the reserves to be able to afford the capital. The capital means the equipment that goes on the police vehicle itself, the lights, the sirens, the cage, the computers, all that stuff that goes into the vehicle. Correct.
Okay, okay, Gotcha.
Currently, that fund is sitting fairly healthy as well.
okay. Have you given us and y'all forgive me, I've been out of it in July and I just don't know. Have you given us a list of which revenue account has how much money in it?
I can share my screen here in just a second, and I will give you last month's financial report of the cash position if you like, that Susan sent out.
Just so it's got a general idea. As you said, the crime control budget at this point is fairly healthy. If it's fairly healthy, why are we taking 4,400 out of its reserves?
Because it's over and above what the anticipated revenue is for the year.
Oh, I got you.
So when you look at the cash position report that Susan sends out, you'll see the 4B sales tax crime control district. And then you're gonna
add the two on.
Sales.
general sales tax.
2013 bond issue. I read that as
Yeah,
blood.
yeah, yeah. Wait, go back.
Okay.
Right there, crime control, right there, right where your cursors is. 18,000.
I'm looking at it straight, right? My eyes aren't working today. Let me come back to you on the crime control.
Yeah, but that's.
This is part of Susan's normal report. I'll just go dig it out.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it
It
is.
is.
Okay.
I see it, but not seeing it.
Okay, I've just got spider webs in front of my eyes. I'll go dig it out. Thank you for looking.
And again, we have proposed conservatively on the sales tax of 83,000. Hopefully we make more.
Okay.
And then that would reduce the amount that needs to be transferred from
Yes,
reserves. Okay,
gotcha.
the next page is the 2020 CO issue, the certificates of obligation and the tax notes account. Basically, this account, the only revenue you're going to see is the investment income. Yeah, so that one has a slightly higher budget amount because there's more in the bank. That account.
Oh, okay. It is different. It's the same. The fiscal year 22 proposed budget numbers are the same, but they shift in the other columns. Okay.
I'm sorry?
On page 19, fiscal year 2022 proposed budget, it's got 83,000, then 100, then 4,400 for 123,500. So
Yeah.
move back to page 18. And it's the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just not broken down.
Okay.
That's the page.
Which in
Page.
which in this fund is not a big deal, but when you get to like EDC fund or one of the others, it's important to have it broken out so you can see all the different resources.
Okay. Y'all forgive me.
This is the summary.
Yeah.
Yes, I got you.
And then the next page is
Same
road.
amount. Come on.
But that's what she was saying is
Yeah.
previous pages.
I'm okay.
All right.
Okay.
I'm not really, but All right, 2020 CO issue.
All right, so before we get to the tax, one thing I do want to highlight.
Here, she's on page 21.
Oh,
She was still looking at this.
oops, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I wasn't trying to rush you.
I'll go with you anyway.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
the only revenue there is investment income, so it's not really.
$1,000? Holy cow.
And they have quite a bit of money in the
Oh, okay.
in the logic account right now. So
Okay. And the
One thing I-
logic account, that's funny.
One thing I wanted to
Logic.
highlight is that this budget as presented is a bare bones budget. Aside from the one capital improvement project on Ray Street, we haven't thrown anything significant in there. Salaries are less than what we would have typically done in previous years. We tried to lower our expenses across the board. We tried to perform well, and that's been one of the frustrating points that I shared with the mayor yesterday, is that we've done I think we've done a pretty good job at identifying ways to lower expenses, somewhere in the ballpark of $250,000 to $300,000 in this year, and we're still having to get this tight on the budget. So this is a bare bones budget. It does not leave a whole lot of room for error as we get into the tax discussion. It's just something that you need to be aware of. We know the last thing that city council ever wants to do is ever raise taxes. We know that, and our goal is to try to lower them. And that was our hope going into this until we were able to look at the numbers and see what actually is happening. So just something to consider. The budget as it's presented is without a tax rate increase.
Okay.
And then I'll let you take over the tax proposal for it.
okay. Sorry.
God bless you.
All right, if you turn to page 22, these are going to be our options. And I just kind of wanted to briefly go over some of the significant contributing factors that affected the property taxes. There were several things that happened this year that kind of contributed to our numbers being as tight as they are. There was an increased amount in exemptions. It went up $831,398 from last year. So basically, I think when water rates went up and just people started taking advantage of the exemptions, which reduces our taxable value. So that's one. There was value also lost due to agricultural appraisals, and that went up $124,582 from last year. So with those, along with, as we all know, the debt dramatically increased from 1.78 million up to 8.24 million. So in the first call, go
Susan,
ahead.
say that last again. 1.78, what was that?
1.78 million went up to 8.24.
Option 4. Are you talking about option?
No, I'm just
No,
talking about
She's
the,
just talking
right
about the
here.
contributing factors.
Got it.
I'm just talking about the actual amount of debt that the city has taken on.
Yeah.
It was huge this year. And
Yeah.
we knew this part was coming, but
Okay. Oh. So we went from 1.78 million in debt to 8.24 million in debt.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is a really big picture number. And what did we buy, purchase, whatever to go up 6.25 million or whatever, 6.5?
Well, $3 million in the Texas Water Development Board loan was one. And that's the water line replacement projects in Chambers Creek and Enon and Christopher. And then the other 3 million was the 2020 bond package that covers new water well, water line replacement, water tower or water tank, storage tank replacement, the fire station and the civic center.
Okay.
And when I provide you with the actual tax documents next week, it has them listed out exactly the loans that we're paying on and exactly how much we owe on them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that little recap helped. Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
That's like I'm saying, that's a really big number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what else you got?
Okay, so if you look on page 22 of the packet, the first column, technically the second column, shows the current fiscal year, the rates. And then moving to the right, we have several different options based on, okay, so primarily the no new revenue tax rate is going to stay the same no matter what we do. The no new revenue M&O is going to stay the same across the board. And the same with the voter approval rate has jumped from $1.15 to $1.20 plus. And the other major difference is the debt tax rate went from 13 cents to 23 cents. So 10 cents right there is a huge jump. Now, typically speaking, you try to keep your actual property tax rate as close to the voter approval rate as possible. So the current year we were at, the voter approval rate was 115 and we were at 1.14. So close. But if you look moving forward, our voter approval rate has jumped to $1.20. And if we keep the property tax at 1.14, that's 6 cents difference there between those two. It's a pretty big jump. And I have calculated, looking further down, you can see the impact that these projected tax rates that I have across the top line would have on the first section, that the city, we would get the tax levy there, the increase. And then the next section is how it would affect the average home, the average homeowner. Currently, the average homeowner pays $1,212 in property taxes. And the first option, keeping it the same rate, it would increase by $79.43. And then that would go up as the rate increases.
That's per house?
Well, yes, that's based on 100,000.
Okay.
That's average. So keep in mind, some will see less, some will see more.
Mhm. So what's your proposal?
Our proposal is, knowing that council doesn't want to raise the tax rate, we've presented what we've presented in front of you, assuming council wants to keep the same rate. But you need to understand going into it how tight the budget is going to be and how little room for error there is.
We've got
The
$39,000.
decision as far as the tax rate itself is entirely up to council. We're trying to be transparent and tell you this is what the issue is. This is what the budget is. It is a bare bones budget. We're still going to continue, just like we have this last year, to try to identify avenues of savings and reduction in expenditures and avenues to increase revenues. We're still going to continue down that path like we did this last year, but there's never any guarantees with that, and we don't know what surprises await around the corner. So we just need to be aware of that as you debate and look to decide this.
And if we
Well-
look at, I'm sorry, Chief, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
If we look at this past two fiscal years, we've had surprise after surprise after surprise after surprise, and none of them have been cheap.
So
And-
the positive to that is the hope is with the $3 million we're currently investing within the water system, plus the potential continued investments that we're looking to make utilizing federal funding from ARPA and other avenues to try to minimize those potential impacts. The investments that we just made within the fire department to minimize those potential impacts, we're getting on the better side of minimizing those risks, but they're certainly not mitigated. Those risks are still very real, and there could be anything that occurs this next year that could hurt that. But we're making the right decision by doing the investments where we're doing those investments to try to minimize those risks.
So the amount of hedge money that we have, wiggle room, is like $39,000, right?
No, less than that, 32.
32.
32,000. Okay, you can't buy a car for that.
Nope.
And I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say I hate, loathe, and despise, plus I don't like raising taxes. But the 32,000 wiggle room is scary. And I don't feel comfortable for the security of the city financially with just $32,000 wiggle room.
Right.
So that's what I'm gonna say about raising taxes.
Well, Susan, my concern is you look between option 1 and option 5, we're talking 139,821 to 235,529. We're only talking 96,000.
So right at 100,000.
That's still not a lot of money. It's not going to help us much.
I'm not saying go for option 5. I'm saying we need to pick something.
No, I'm just saying if we went to section or option 5, that's only an additional $96,000.
And it's partially because if you're looking at this, 23 cents out of every dollar is going to pay debt.
Yeah.
So that it's not going to change. So that's why it's increasing at a slower amount. But that's why I gave you many options, kind of showed it incrementally what the effect would be. I've also provided you with a packet to review. This has a lot of the same information. It has your no new revenue tax rate and last year's tax rate and some comparisons. And then the last page of this packet shows it's a larger version of showing the tax increase compared over last year's tax rate.
I've just got a hard problem with raising taxes when their taxes are already going up because of the value of the properties. And then we've just hit everybody up with a couple of large water charges. I've just got an issue with raising it at all. I mean, personally.
So if we don't do anything, if we don't raise taxes,
Don't cross our fingers.
You pray.
God almighty, $32,000 wiggle room. And you just know
We already know we're gonna have things to do with the wells.
Murphy's Law.
Well, and the hope there is, and thanks to Tarrant County and the assistance we've gotten from them on the guidance through ARPA, we can spend a lot of the funds from ARPA on improving the water wells and the resiliency there. But regardless, whether it's a well, a fire truck, a police car, a building, this building needs a new roof. The Public Works building needs a new roof. Each one's $15,000. We can't squeak them out of this budget. There could be any number of issues that arise over the next year that pop up. So it's just something to be aware of.
We're gonna have to get a lot of grants.
Yeah, well, yes. Well, that's the hope.
Well, that's the
We're-
plan, but it's still,
I know. I
Yeah, but it
wish.
takes
we can't come to you and say, we're gonna get this.
I know.
Because if we don't, but
honestly, when I was preparing this and I saw that number, it's like started giving me heart palpitations, like, because I know what happens. And I'm like texting Craig really late at night, and I apologize, but I'm like, okay, we need to talk ASAP in the morning. Like, it is what it is, but.
Okay, so what do you want from us?
well, this is the part where we need council to debate and give us some sort of consensus on how you would like to proceed with the tax rate. We're not going to be able to adopt this budget next week. We're going to have to call a special meeting on August 17th. And the hope is that we can call this special meeting with a public hearing and adopt the tax rate then. Before we can adopt the budget and the tax rate, we have to have a 7-day notice published online and in the paper for a public hearing. So we need council to decide how you want to proceed on the tax rate.
Judy, what do you think?
And I'm gonna.
I have never liked raising taxes,
No.
and I really hate to see it. I don't want to do that.
Linda,
I say no.
no tax rate hike.
Yeah.
Okay, Kelly,
Much as I hate to say no, I think we ought to at least go with option 2.
Johnny, how you thinking?
No.
Okay,
Right, you know.
Well,
I
Mary,
know, Ray, I know Ray's a no. Miriam,
Yeah.
are you out there?
Miriam,
I'm here, and unfortunately, I would have to say no.
So it looks like the no's have it.
No, on what I stepped out. I shouldn't have stepped out.
You blew it.
No raise?
no tax
Okay.
rate.
All right. So with that.
that's the general consensus.
Okay.
Yes, that's the general consensus.
Well, that's what I need to know for sure, because I
Yes.
have to post the notice.
So we'll work on drafting and posting a notice for the special hearing and everything on August 17th. We'll have another budget workshop session next week. In case anybody has any questions, we're not going to go through anything else. Just if you have questions, it's one final time because I don't want anybody to feel like
Is
we've
this
rushed
after a regular meeting or before it?
Will be during.
during the regular meeting.
During.
Yeah, during the regular
I
meeting.
got you.
So if you have any questions that you want to bring up, any proposed changes, that'll be the time to do it. Because August 17th, we're going to have the final
Right.
documents in front of you to have host a public hearing and hopefully adopt the budget.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on expenditures, revenues, or tax side?
Sorry?
I was asking about had anything else on that.
No.
Okay, so we'll go to executive session, section 551.074, personnel matters, past performance and continued employment of the city manager, item 21144, and section 551.074, personnel matters, job description and duties related to the director of economic development, item 21145. Time is 8:40.